witness any good plays this time around. Pedro Antonio Garcia's The Witness Room has trash-talking cops waiting to testify at a suppression hearing. Assistant DA Andrea Volpe is in charge of the case of a drug bust and wants to make sure she gets all the facts straight. Since the guy was caught red-handed with the drugs, she feels it will be a slam dunk. What she didn't count on was T.J. Moretti's cockiness, Terrence Sampson's volatility, Kevin Brennan's fondness for drink, and the new cop Eli Torres's conscience. There are cracks in the blue wall and what will finally have it come tumbling down. Daniel Allen's set of a dusty, cramped room with random boxes piled high to the ceiling made this feel very realistic, as did the acting. Dave Baez was Italian and all swagger who thinks he is God's gift to women. African-American Mo Irvin, when he isn't riled, has figured out how to stay happily married as long as he gets to go to the Knicks games. Jason Sweet Tooth Williams is a quintessential Irish drinker, but is like a professor the way he throws arcane facts around. J.D. Mollison is worried about his daughter being taken away from him by his ex-wife and all the holes in the cases. He hasn't become a hardened cop yet, and he still has a sense of justice. This was a very taut, well-written drama that gives you a glimpse of the bureaucratic paces that cops jump through to get convictions. Happy face. Recently, I went to a press conference of a Native American musical called Distant Thunder. And I talked to the artistic director, Nancy Trinkoff, and one of the co-writers and an actor in it, Shaun Taylor-Corbett. But most exciting of all was the Pow Wow dance, which featured the Jingle dress dance from Aubee Billie, the Shawl dance with Chava Florendo, the Grandma Jingle dress with Irma-Estel Laguerre, and the fancy dance with Bonale, Fambrini, and Sampwe Tarrant. And there'll be even more interviews and more songs on our next show, October 19th. But in the meantime, go see it.
Hello, here we are with
Donna Trinkoff. I'm the artistic producer of Amos Musical Theater.
And you are producing Distant Thunder. So tell us about Distant Thunder.
So we've been developing this musical since 2015, and it really exemplifies the Amos mission of giving voice to ethnic communities whose voices are often unheard. And the show takes place on the Blackfeet Reservation, and it's about a young man of mixed race who returns to the reservation to broker a deal that he thinks is going to help the community, but in reality, it's going to tear the community apart. And he's also looking to reconcile with his estranged father. So it brings us to a place where many of us have no idea about this culture, but it's also a universal theme of family. And it's important because the actors who are in the show are all of indigenous race or mixed race, and it's giving them the opportunity to tell a story that we don't know about in this country. So I'm very, very excited about it, and I feel very honored and privileged to be able to present it. And after all these years, to be able to present the entire show, not just, do a workshop and do a lab, but to use the costumes and the regalia, the beautiful regalia, and to use the lights and the sets. So it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, it's about like reconnection.
Yes, and it's about the core humanity in all of us. And once we can see that in one another, and our founder Rosetta Lenoir always said that once we can see that common core in all of us, that we would love one another, and that's what we're meant to do.
And the Native Americans, they hardly ever get, their voices heard. It's terrible.
They don't get their due, and I think now is beginning to be their moment in the sun. And when, the show had been done in Oklahoma 2 years ago, kind of a version of it, and I thought to myself, you know what? It needs to be done in New York. After all of this, it needs to be done in New York. It needs to be seen in New York. And it's very exciting, too, because the Phoenix Theater Company is also partnering with us, and it's going to be done in Phoenix in 2 years from now as well. So it is going to be seen around the country.
Buffalo would be a good place to be seeing it too, because we have the Seneca Nation there.
Yes, that would be great. And there's a lot of pockets all around the country where there's large Native communities. And, the validation of being able to see themselves on stage, it's always been important to see yourself on stage and know that you are part of that theater community, and that,
Especially coming from New York City.
absolutely. And that's, always been a part. We want to build our community in the theater. We have to give voice to those voices.
That are voiceless.
Exactly.
Well, I'm excited about this one, so thank you very much for bringing this to us.
Thank you so much, Eva. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Hello, here we are with,
Shaun Taylor-Corbett,
and you are in,
Distant Thunder,
and you are playing,
Daryl.
and who is Daryl?
Daryl is the protagonist who comes back after being away from his reservation, the Blackfeet Reservation, for 20 years, and he comes back home with a deal to try to help the tribe economically, but it ends up threatening the language immersion school where his childhood sweetheart, Dorothy Dark Eyes, teaches the Blackfeet language. And so there's this conflict of what's best for the tribe and how can we find a compromise to save the language and uphold the language while also developing economic opportunities for the tribe. So Daryl gets caught in the middle, but it's very much a story about identity and finding himself, remembering who he is, his culture, and all the lessons passed down to him from his ancestors, and walking in the world with it instead of thinking he has to put it aside in order to be contemporary, because we're all contemporary Native people in the story.
It's our story of the best of intentions. Sometimes goes awry.
That's right. And it's also complex because sometimes, like you said, people are trying to do a good thing, but without the understanding of and the complexities of a community and what the community needs, and trying to hold on to the strong parts about our past and the lessons from our traditions, and also how to work in the modern world and have an indigenous perspective in this capitalist kind of world,
So you left the reservation, and went to the white world, so it's like you're kind of like almost don't know where you fit in. Is that it?
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. And I think Daryl tries for a long time. He assimilates and he loses touch with his culture, but he's still not grounded in certain values that can enrich his life. And he doesn't. He kind of comes smack into those values when he comes back home. And he's a city guy, and a lot of it mirrors my experience with. It's not totally autobiographical, but there's a lot of my life in the show and my mom when she took me to Browning, Montana when I was 15. And I'm still called New York there. When I go there, they're like, "Hey, New York," because I'm very much an urban guy. But it's very, go out to Montana with the beautiful mountains and the plains, and it's vast, And I never rode horses growing up, but they throw me on horses when I go over there. And I've never put up teepees, but now I know how to put up a whole bunch of teepees in a very short amount of time. So, and I'm still learning, but it's very much like my life experience and the show have been marching together throughout all of these years. And it's beautiful now to be able to share it with New York audiences, because this is where I started out, as you know, with my mom in the Broadway community. And I always saw that, and I wanted there to be a Native musical in the Broadway community, a big one that represents a vast scope of our communities. So here we are doing it.
So you're trying to reconnect with everything again.
Yeah, and I'm over the years, I just keep getting more and more and more and more connected to my community back home in Browning. And I also see where I can add a voice to the Broadway community, which I love so much. And from Frankie Valli and Usnavi and the Heights to Daryl and a Native American musical, it's pretty special.
The best of all possible worlds.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good way to put it. It's all combined in this show.
We should also mention that you co-wrote this with whom?
I co-wrote this with Lynn Taylor-Corbett, my mother, and Chris Wiseman, who's a college buddy from a long time ago and writing partner. And we also have the Florendo family added their songs to the show, some of the Pow Wow songs you heard, as well as some additional lyrics by Michael Moritz and Robert Lindsay Nassif and music. So it's a big collaboration. And my mom and I are also, we started Tall Tree Productions. We're associate producers on this as well. So it's a really big endeavor, and we have a lot of hats.
And I should say, who does the choreography? Because that dance in the beginning was amazing.
Well, you know, that's the individual Pow Wow dancers. Like Sampwe Tarrant brought his dance style, and Aubee Billie, and my mom actually directs the show, and Brian Lawton and my mom staged Bonale's dance section with the guidance from Brent Florendo. So it's again a big collaboration.
So it's rooted in traditional dance then.
Yeah, it's Pow Wow dance, you know. So
What's Pow Wow dance for those who don't know?
yeah, well, so Pow Wow dance is an amalgam of a lot of different styles, but you have different things like grass dancing, fancy dancing, shawl dancing, jingle dress dancing, traditional. There's all different styles, but each tribe has their own approach to each style. But it's something that is an expression of Native culture and music, and we dance for the tiny tots, we call them, for those that can't dance, for our ancestors, for those we lost, and for ourselves, you know. And so it's a very deeply connected dance to the earth, to our ancestors, and to our communities. So it's not so much it can be entertaining, but it's also a self-expression of Native culture. And you saw a little bit of that today. Yeah.
Thrilling.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you too.
All right.
Hutchison's Redeemed brings us to the cell of Trevor Barlow, who's played by Doug Harris. He's serving time for the murder of Claire Yang's brother, played by Elizabeth Sun. Trevor sends a letter to Claire asking her to visit him. He's up for parole and wants to prove to her that he is a changed man. An overhead theme of the role of race in the correction systems is addressed by each of these characters. As his story unfolds, Claire is tasked with an opportunity to make an unthinkable decision. The impactful portrayal of their respective characters gives their audience a feeling of their discomfort with each other, as well as their need for each other. While this 90-minute show covers just the two visitations, at times it may seem like it could be a bit shorter. The plain set, which is in the interior of a jail cell, is proper for keeping the characters and their audience aware of the confined space for their difficult encounters. Sound effects are used sparingly, such as cell door buzzer opening and closing when Claire arrives. I was thinking the production team may consider additional sound effects as an added bonus for the audience to remain engaged with the dialogue while being jarred with other correctional facility sounds. I recently saw a show where I felt like the sound effects were terrific because as the scenes changed, the sounds of the facility and the people around them seemed to be easily done, and I found them quite effective. So I might have been kind of looking for that too. The costumes are right on target for what one might think these characters would wear. Claire sports an expensive looking dark pinstriped business pantsuit for their first visit with Trevor, and Trevor is in a faded blue jumpsuit as his corrections uniform. Playwright Chisa Hutchinson's redeemed as one of 3 plays at this year's Amplify Festival, which celebrates 3 works of one playwright here in New York City, and it's at 59 East 59 Theaters. For this show, Redeemed, I'm giving it a happy face minus.
Also at 59E59 Theaters is Arlene Hutton's Blood of the Lamb. It is a rip from the headlines play about the state's attitude towards abortion and disregard of the woman's body entirely. Nessa has had the misfortune to faint on the plane and had the plane diverted to Texas. She's very confused where she finds herself. She's in a stark room with a woman grilling her. Nessa still turns out to be at the airport, and the woman turns out to be Val, a lawyer representing unborn children's rights. Nessa is pregnant with a stillborn child and was getting an abortion to save her life, but that is not permissible in Texas. The 2 women square off against each other. Nessa is trying to save her life, and Val, a deeply religious person, is trying to save a dead unborn baby's rights. Who will prevail? This play is riveting thanks to the outstanding performances from Meredith Garrison, who literally fights for her life while mourning her dead baby that she and her partner tried so hard to have and wanted so badly. Kelly McAndrews, who is all self-righteous, thinking she is doing God's work, knowing the horrible way they dispose of an unborn fetus and speaking up for the speechless. Each person is fighting for what they believe is the moral ground. Kelly McAndrew is so compelling in believing that she is doing the right thing that she avoids the mustache-twirling villain because she has God and the Texas laws on her side. Meredith Garrison is trapped in an untenable situation. This is the perfect play in these fraught times. Happy Face Plus.
Medea Reversed is written by Louis Cantero. Originally, it was based on a Greek mythology and it was penned by Euripides. This play is absolutely different than Real Medea. When I went to see this play, for like at least 20 minutes, they had this rap and music going on, and I was wondering if I'm at the wrong place or the right place. But I realized I'm at the right place, but it's Medea. And I said, my God, I have never seen such happy atmosphere in Medea. Medea is a great big dark tragedy. So the story goes like this. This guy, Jason, he visits Corinth and he falls in love with Princess of Corinth named Medea. And she has to do lots of manipulation and all that stuff to keep him there and save him from some shady deals he's been doing. He came there to steal the golden fleece. So eventually she had to kill her brother and abandon her homeland and the father and come to his country. So, and then she has 2 children. They get married, they have 2 children with him. Finally, he betrays her because he is going to now marry a very young princess of the Creon's daughter. And then she got like so desperate and isolated and she has no home and she can't go back. And so it's about this revenge. And this play is absolutely different. There's a lot of shouting, there's a lot of rap music. And when they speak, after a long time, they start to speak, which I'm very interested to hear the language. You cannot really hear it because the music is still going on. And at times like Medea, when she speaks, then it was a little bit better. And Creon, the king, was also laudable. We could hear him. And those moments were the best moments for me. But the rest of the stuff, it's just not my cup of tea.
It was also, I should mention, co-conceived and directed by Nathan Winkelstein. and this is Red Bull Company. And I mean, if you don't like rap, you're in trouble. And there is strobe lighting, and I knew about this, so they were very nice. They set me in a seat so that I didn't get the brunt of it like you did. But see, I found it exciting. It's like to me, it revitalized the whole Medea story, especially when you have Sarah and Monet West was just riveting in the part. And one of my favorite actors, Jacob Ming Trent, was wonderful. And so yeah, it's like this wonderful story. She was a woman betrayed. I mean, she did everything for this guy. She burned all of the bridges behind her, and he treats her like this, and he pretends like it's, oh, I'm doing this for you. Oh, please. I mean, really. So I really, and I'm not, I don't like Greek tragedy, but in this case, it was wonderful. I love the rap music, the lyrics, everything. I went because I got there so late. I didn't get the 20 minutes beforehand, which might have like set me off and not have enjoyed it as much as Bina obviously didn't enjoy it. But I really enjoyed this immensely, and so I mean, I'm going to give this a happy face.
The performances were good. That's why I give a mixed review. They made great effort to do this play, but it's not my style. So it's mixed for the actors.
Well, folks, it's coming up on Halloween season, which means that there are, of course, a ton of plays and performances out there based on spooky and supernatural themes, which I happen to love. One that I saw last week, performed by the Broadway Murder Mysteries troupe, is called The Spirits Speakeasy, written by Monica Hammond, directed by Sarah Sutcliffe, and co-created by both of them. It is playing at a bar that I didn't even know existed, called Sincerely Ophelia on 2nd Avenue and 14th Street in the East Village, which is this fabulous subterranean multi-room place that actually looks like a 1920s speakeasy / cabaret. The premise of the piece is that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who in his day was a noted fervent believer in spiritualism, seances, mediums, psychics, is putting on a performance with various talents to convince the audience of his point of view. Also in attendance, and the thorn in his side, is Harry Houdini, who was equally fervent in his disbelief of anything supernatural, and his wife, Bess. Bess is played by Rory Nogi. Conan Doyle is Brian Silliman, and Houdini is Patrick Terry. And they play off of each other beautifully. The premise of the piece is that the audience moves from room to room. You start out in room 1, which has a bar. Then you go to another room. Then there's another room with a bar. And each room has a different performance. You can choose which performance you want to see or which you want to pass on. Giving the performances are the medium, Marjorie, who is Kristen Lambert, who I had never heard of, so I actually did some research on her. And she is a true medium, spiritualist, seer. She reads tarot amazingly. She has toured with Chris Angel. She's done national tours. And more than once, she performed some sleight of hand that left me thinking to myself, how did she do that? Mm-hmm. Also, Howard Thurston, played by Lee Allen Barrett, also a magician. I don't want to say on a lower level, but his stuff was not as impressive to me as Ms. Lambert's. Basically, the whole time you're watching these people, Houdini is in the background, sniping and griping, and Conan Doyle is countering him. I will say Brian Silliman has a very plummy English accent and did an amazing job. They all did amazing jobs. It's a 2-hour performance. You come away either believing or disbelieving as you so choose. But along the way, you get to enjoy prestidigitation and also the singing voice of Bess Houdini. Ms. Nogi's voice reminded me more than once of Liza Minnelli in Cabaret. She is quite the belter and is absolutely fabulous.
And to add to the spiritual part of it, because it wasn't just magic and card tricks. No, that we all wrote out a question in the beginning and put it in a gold bowl, and then she would pick it out and she would answer your question. And she did one for me, and it was very helpful. So she really, she really can cut to the matter and really. And I grew up near Lilydale, which is a spiritualist community. So I'm very aware of spiritualism and mediums, and she was just excellent. So you're getting a lot of bang for your buck, and you can see it more than once because you might go to this room next time and then room next time, and it's a great place to bring your friends and enjoy yourself. You get a show, you get drinks, you get all sorts of exciting entertainment, and I absolutely love this. I'm giving this a major happy face.
And like Eva, I give it a major happy face, and I recommend it highly.
Belarus Free Theater at La Mama's is presenting KS6 Small Forward, which stars Katerina Snitsina, who is the most famous athlete from Belarus. She's a great basketball player, and it's really her telling her story. She was first trained where she grew up in Soviet Belarus, where the coaches were very mean and kept telling her she's just a piece of shit, so that would stamp out all sense of individuality. Only as a professional playing in other parts of Europe did she realize there were other ways of doing this. She had a really great career, and her last game was with the London Lions, and she helped them win for the first time the Cup of Europe. Since retiring, she's come out very strongly as a lesbian activist, working against the dictatorship of Belarus and trying to see if she has any sway to release some of the many political prisoners. From Eastern European theater, I usually expect something very dark and innovative. That wasn't the case here, and it didn't need to be, because this was a very interesting way to present her story, and she is quite charismatic and very much at home on stage. So I gave it a happy face.
And now for our theater listings. Closing October 6th is Richard Maxwell's New York City Players Buildings 1 and 2. And closing October 13th is Inundated, which is written by Christine Lavin and is part of the York's New to New York. And I just finished seeing Monte Cristo, a new musical based on The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas Père, that had a book and lyrics by Peter Kellogg and music by Stephen Weiner. And it was about greed, envy, betrayal, and revenge. You missed that one, but you don't want to miss Inundated. Your last chance for you to do New to New York. Closing October 20th is Bedlam's Women of Will at the West End Theater, WP Theater's Dirty Laundry at the WP Theater, and Safety Not Guaranteed at BAM. And we'll see you on October 19th, and have happy holiday, Lashana Tova, Tika Sevu.